Brighton's finest. Juice 107.2.
Is this your first tour of the UK? First proper tour?
First proper tour, basically, because last time I was over here, or 2 times ago, I was supporting someone, like I was opening for someone, and then this summer I went for kind of like a really small press trip.
Yeah.
And then this is like my first ever solo shows over here, so yeah.
Okay, so it's all new and exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
And Europe, will that be your first time in Europe as well?
No, because, well, I mean, yeah, same thing, where it's the first time where I'm playing my own shows or, you know, kind of on my own terms. I didn't have a record out before. Last time I was here, I was supporting someone.
So, are you playing on your own? Is it a solo tour?
No. I have my best friend, Harrison, with me, who plays guitar and lap steel.
Okay.
But essentially, because I'm, you know, it's very stripped down.
I know you're coming to Brighton in a few days' time. Have you ever been to Brighton before?
No, never.
Never? Okay. Well, it's a nice place.
Cool.
Excellent. So, Strange in the Alps is the album that you just released a few weeks ago, and it's a really great album. Really enjoying it, and I think it's been getting a lot of great reviews across the board, hasn't it? And this is your first album, so. Is it something that's, well, I mean, how does it feel at the moment? Because obviously things have kind of taken off quite a lot. There seems to be a lot of interest in you. You're obviously doing a lot of phone interviews and stuff. Is it been good, or is it kind of something that you're just kind of getting into grips with?
I feel like I had been touring before on nothing. You know, basically, like the 3 songs that I had on the internet. Before releasing this album, so this feels awesome because I actually have something to show everyone. But basically it just feels like more of the same, but it's cooler because the ball's kind of in my court now.
So just to give people a little bit of a potted history, for those who don't know you, you're from America, from Los Angeles.
Yes.
You released a 7-inch on Ryan Adams' label last year, I think it was, just last year.
2015, yeah.
2015, okay. And I think is that the only release you've had?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only release you had before the album. Okay. So obviously for those who, how did you hook up with Ryan Adams? Because I understand that he kind of found you, as it were, and invited you to a studio to make some music, basically. Is that basically how it happened?
Yeah, basically just through mutual friends, through word of mouth. Yeah. I definitely listened to his records before, so it was different than being at just like any producer's studio. It was, it's cool recording with other songwriters. Okay.
And what about Conor Oberst? How did you hook up with him? Because I think he was an early fan of yours as well.
Well, he's been like one of my heroes, I feel like, for my whole life, and I feel like everybody knows that. And there was this promoter in LA who texted me very dramatically, like, "Do you want to open a Conor Oberst secret show?" You know, last summer. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Of course I do." And we met there, and then I ended up through a different avenue. I ended up mixing my album in Omaha with Mike Mogus, who was in Bright Eyes with Conor, and we all ended up hanging out in Omaha. And then we kind of had like this email back and forth about each other's albums. It was before he'd released Ruminations, and yeah, that's how it started.
So this album then, how did it come? You're obviously signed with Dead Oceans, the label Dead Oceans. How did that come about?
So I decided to record my record before signing a deal, just because I wanted to record on my own terms. The only thing that I'd recorded before was the Ryan 7-inch, which was essentially just demos because it's just me and a guitar.
Yeah.
And then, so I kind of had no idea what it was going to sound like. So any offers that I'd gotten from labels or any interest was based in you know, kind of a twangy demo. So I decided to record my record and see who liked it at the end, and that's how I met Dead Oceans. They just heard about it and were the most excited about it.
Okay. Did you have to? Did you re-record the album then once you'd signed a deal?
No. They basically bought it from me.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's quite a kind of a full sound, isn't it? There's a fairly full production sound on there.
Yeah. Well, the producers Tony and Ethan kind of had like a lot of faith in me, just recording. You know, they spent so much time on it and so much energy. So many musicians went unpaid until I got signed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just really cool to be surrounded by people who thought that that someone would want it.
Okay, brilliant stuff. If I can talk to you about a couple of tracks, if you don't mind, specific tracks on the album. I know that a lot of your lyrics are very personal. You don't tend to talk about the third person very much, but so with the track "Funeral," which obviously is very stark and very kind of, it's when you hear it, it's like whoa, because it's initially it's about you being asked to sing at a friend's funeral, somebody who's very young, about your age as well, I think. But then it sort of veers off into other territory. Can you talk about that one?
Actually, it was a stranger. I didn't know the kid.
Okay, right.
His parents just asked me to sing, so it was very surreal. Basically being brought into someone's, like, the timeline of their life after they had died. And it just kind of, the song's about basically putting my own depression in perspective, which I actually don't think is fair. It's something that I would only ever do to myself. I think that depression is super valid no matter what's going on around you, or no matter how spoiled you feel, but it's kind of a depiction of the way that we tend to talk to ourselves when we're depressed.
And what about Scott Street? Can you talk us through that one?
Yeah, I wrote it with my ex-boyfriend, and we kind of just like, when we were still together, and which is very strange. But it was kind of about both of us, but mostly about this one street that he used to live in LA that, it's just so unobtrusive. It's like the least exciting street ever. There's like one drugstore on it, but mostly houses, and it's right by the freeway.
Yeah.
But it's about the kind of, I know it's very specific, but to me it's about like the very universal feeling of seeing someone that you used to feel a lot for, there used to be a lot of context for, way later when there's almost none of that left, and you're just kind of exploring your relationship with a kind of curiosity, like a surgical curiosity instead of real emotions.
Okay. And Chelsea, which I've read somewhere that it's kind of related to Nancy and Sid, called Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen, who were in the Chelsea Hotel, and I don't know the exact story on that one, but is it to do with them, or is it to do with something else?
Well, that's actually probably the only song that isn't autobiographical, and it's not autobiographical at all. It's pretty much only about that story.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of Sid Vicious in Rolling Stone, with covered in blood, and it just got me thinking about how romanticized he is, and about Nancy Spungen's mental health, and how they're put on this weird they're this weird pedestal of, basically, they're super romanticized, which I think is, he stabbed his girlfriend to death.
Yeah.
I think you are disqualified for being cool.
Sure.
forever when you do that. So it's kind of about that.
Yeah. And Smoke Signals, the lead track, I love the way that within that song there's interspersed little references to musicians and songs, but there's a bigger story behind that, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me it's just it's like a post-apocalyptic love song to me.
Yeah.
It's about, loving someone when it feels like the whole universe is kind of crashing or has crashed around you.
Great. Well, thanks for talking about the songs, because I know a lot of musicians don't really like talking about their music much, or certainly the lyrical content. But you don't seem to have much of a problem with that. Is that fair to say?
No, it's confusing to me when people don't want to talk about their songs, especially songs that are as personal as mine. It's like you're kind of laying it out on the table anyway.
Yeah.
Which has been my only issue with answering questions before, is that, you know, there isn't a lot to ask because I'm very literal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's weird when people don't want to talk about something that they literally showed everyone.
Sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people like to sort of say, well, this is open to interpretation. You decide what it's about, rather than me telling you.
Sure. And I still hold that to be true, but I also think it's interesting to hear different people's perspective, including who wrote it.
Okay, so with regards to the title, I can't for the life of me work out what the title refers to. I don't. There's no lyric on there. The Alps is, of course, a place that have you ever been to the Alps?
No, never.
Never. So
I encourage you to Google it, because I assure you're giving me entirely too much credit.
Okay.
For coming up with something, because it's pretty ridiculous.
Okay. Did you like the fact that it was a bit ridiculous? Didn't really have any meaning relating to the album in general? Yeah,
I did, because all the other titles I came up with were pretty self-serious, and my music is serious, but I don't feel like a very serious person.
Okay.
So yeah.
And the album, the actual image on the cover as well, is that related? Is that just a random image, or where did that come from?
So I kind of fell in love with this artist, Angela Dean, who takes found photos and paints over them.
Yeah.
And I basically, I as soon as I thought of it, I was like, oh yeah, that'll be great. And I sent her a ton of old childhood photos of myself, and we chose that one.
So that's basically you, but there's been painted over like a ghost sheet with two black holes for your eyes.
Yeah, and actually in the CD packaging, when you open it, it's like the actual photo, and it's me smiling.
Okay.
As a little kid.
Brighton's finest, Juice 107.2.